Hey Motley crew, welcome. I'm going to start this off by asking you to take 3 of the deepest breaths you have taken all day. Now, the way we are going to do these breaths is we're going to breathe in from our stomach. From our stomach, allow that breath to travel and breathe in from our heart space, and as we breathe out, breathing out from our heart space, imagining light is coming from the heart outwards. So breathe in from our abdomen, letting that breath travel up to our heart space, and then breathing out from the heart space. Breathing in from the abdomen, allowing that breath to travel up to our heart space, and then breathing out from the abdomen. One more. Breathing in from the abdomen, allowing that breath to travel up to the heart space, breathing out from the heart. Just a little centering exercise to help us ground in our present, ground in our bodies, and get connected to that heart. That is a simple breathing cycle I like to do when I'm feeling disconnected from my heart. What really allows me to come back to myself, to really feel into that space and see what is it telling me today. So welcome, Molly crew. Welcome to the motcast. This is what I'm going to call it. Musings of Them podcast sounds too long. Motley podcast doesn't really have the right ring. So we're going to call it the motcast. Welcome to the motcast. I haven't done one of these in a long time. It's been a while. In fact, I did my first channel podcast 2021. No, it was 2021. And then I deleted it and I started over because I was feeling insecure and like, oh my gosh, this isn't good enough. And I was going through a lot of spiritual growth. I was going through a dark night of the soul then. So I also was in a space of just everything feeling devoid of happiness, of joy, of light. Everything just felt really heavy and dense and dark. And so I deleted it and started over. And now I'm in a place where I've come out of the dark night of the soul and I have more clarity and a direction around what I'm doing and how I want to take this channel forward. And it's not really a strengthening, a remembrance of my spiritual gifts, as well as a strengthening of my ability to hone them. So this is going to be the first motcast in a long time, and I'm so excited to share with you. So welcome. So today I'm going to just this is an intro of sorts, but today I just want to talk about the normalization of talking about the dark stuff, because that's what we do here on Musings of Them. We talk about the dark. We talk about fears, insecurities, we talk about wounds and traumas, we talk about abuse, we talk about limiting beliefs, we talk about all of it. And the reason I talk about it, the reason it's important to talk about it, is because when we are ignoring our dark, we cannot come into the wholeness of who we are. We are both light. And I know in the spiritual community at large, we all love to talk about love and peace. And I love love and I love peace, just like any other person. Not everyone loves love and peace, though. Let's keep it real. And for me to get to this place, I had to go through the dark. In fact, my spiritual awakenings were through pain, through heartbreak, through betrayal. It was through the dark that I was able to find my light, because your light shines the brightest in the dark. And when we ignore our dark, when we ignore the parts of ourselves that we push away, we don't want to see, we have shame, we have guilt about, those parts grow. And they come out through us in ways that we are unsuspecting of, in ways that we don't want them to come out. And they also impact our energy field. So whether or not you are addressing your trauma or oppression or injustices of the world, they're in your energy field, unless you are able to heal that and to transmute that into a more healthier vibration, into a balance, right? So I'm all about the balance. I have one foot in the dark and one foot in the light. That is how I am meant to be in this world, so that I don't ever forget what it feels like to be in the dark, as I help people transmute their darkness into light, so that we can be an embodied wholeness. When we think of the world of duality, we also think of either or. We think of good, bad. Let's just say that. Masculine, feminine, light, dark. There is this separation between both when they are one and the same. And just to give an example of that, when we think of the day, how was your day? I ask you, how was your day? The day could be 8 o'clock a.m. I could be asking you, how was 8 p.m.? We think of the day, we automatically ascribe it, the entirety of the day, to the light. When the day is made up of both morning and night, the day is both the sun and the moon. And yet the day wouldn't be the day if the moon wasn't there, if we didn't have the cover of darkness, if we didn't have the dark. And so just as the day is the light and the dark, so are you. My evil ancestors, through the philosophy and cosmology that they follow, was called Adinani. And they believe that everything out there in the world, everything in the cosmos, is a reflection of what is in within. So when we study the world, when we study the nature, when we study the universe, we have greater clarity about the nature of who we are within. If you've heard the adage, as within, so without, as above, so below, it is the same concept that my evil ancestors believed. And so when we're looking at the day, what would the day be if we had no night? Because it is in the darkness that things grow. When you plant a seed in the ground, it is in the darkness of that ground that seed is able to germinate. It is able to receive the nutrients it needs so that it can sprout up into the sky, into the air, and face the sun. If we only had night, nothing would grow. It is the sun that gives us the nutrients that we need to grow. It is the sun that energizes us to grow. And so both are necessary and very important to our well-being. Now, thinking about it on a soul perspective, our lightness and our darkness are equally as important to the evolution and the growth of our soul, understanding that we're moving towards being in oneness with self, being in alignment with our authentic truth and our true nature as soul, as divine, as sacred beings on this earth in human body. And when we push away our darkness, we are pushing away a part of our inherent power. We are pushing away a part of ourselves that can help nourish us. We are pushing away an understanding and deeper awareness of who we are and the gifts that lie in the dark. Even pain, even trauma, even the woundings that you may carry have wisdom and strength to give you and to offer you. And so it is extremely important that we talk about the dark and that we normalize talking about the dark, because life isn't always just light. And that's where you get into spiritual bypassing, people who want to just be up in the high vibrations without understanding we live in a physical 3D reality with physical 3D problems. And if you're someone who's experienced abuse, trauma, woundings, addictions, that for you to get from there to a place of peace, love, and harmony is going to look very different from someone who started off a little bit, who didn't have the same, who didn't walk that same path. It also requires an understanding that we live in the world of oppression and injustices. Like, I can't sit here and ignore the fact that I'm a Black person, that I'm a queer person as an omnisexual, that I'm transgender, that I'm neurodivergent, that there are parts of my being and identity that make me a marginalized person in this world, in this country, that has laws and a social understanding and normativeness that puts me to the edges and pushes me to the side. That we live in a world that is based on historical precedents of treating people who look like me and who have the identities that I have as less than, not giving them a fair start in life because of the historical precedences and injustices that have been imbued within our social structures and systems, right? And so being spiritual means we need to look at the dark, because it is only in looking at the dark that we can transmute that darkness to light. That when we shine the light on the dark, we are able to fully see and understand how we can take what is there and bring it into the light so that it can be in balance, harmony. It's that being able to be in balance, to being able to be in harmony. And when you're able to do that within ourselves, then we can see that in our reality in the same way. The reason that there's so much darkness that exists within this world is because people within aren't looking at the darkness, right? We have a collective, when we talk about collective energy, think about your collective, think about your personal unconscious and subconscious and the darkness there. Think about that magnified by millions, billions of people. That is the collective unconscious and subconscious. The darkness that exists in this world is a direct reflection of the darkness that lives in each and every one of us. Some of us contribute more to the darkness than others. In the process of being able to heal ourselves internally, we then begin to heal the world externally, not only through the shift in our vibrations, but the choices and the decisions that we make. Right? All of this is for the purpose of being able to live your best life. To live a life of your highest actualized potential, to live in a world that supports you living your best life and highest actualized potential, no matter who you are. Right? I believe in world peace, but in order for us to get to world peace, we got to go through the dark. We can't ignore the dark. You cannot spiritual awaken yourself to love and light and think that all of the bullshit of the world is just going to disappear. It's not. We have to do the work. And that starts with us being able to do that dark work within. And so I'm starting this off by saying it's important that we talk about the dark, that we normalize talking about the dark, that we don't make it taboo to talk about our traumas and our pains and our limiting beliefs, to talk about our fears and insecurities and flaws, because we are all human, y'all. We are all trying to do this human thing together. And some of us have more insight about the nature of this reality and the nature of the universe and the nature of nature itself to help guide you on the path. But the person who is doing the work is you. Who has to do that work is you. The dark is nothing to fear if you have the right tools and mindset. Right? The dark is the unknown. It is the unfamiliar. And what often we can find in the dark can be our greatest strength and power for the purpose of creation. So I love the dark. I love the dark and I love the light because neither are inherently good or bad. It's what you do with it, right? I can be love and light and peace and still be an ass. Really, truly. I don't know about y'all, but I've met some people who are all about that love, light, and peace. And I'm just gonna shake my head. Let me tell y'all a story. Story time. So in 2020, I decided to go to this retreat. It was a retreat, one of the second spiritual retreat I went to. And again, this was like during the pandemic, so I was already really like on edge about going to this retreat, but I was like, I'm being guided to do this. When spirit guides me to do something, I feel compelled to do it. I can't ignore the calling of my soul and what I'm meant to do. It's always been strong in me. And so I go to this retreat, and this retreat was at Joshua Tree, which is a very spiritual place. Very spiritual. And the retreat was to get us in touch with our creative side, to get us in touch with our star family, aka the cosmic beings that share this universe with us. There's always this dog, y'all, that barks like this, and it sounds like those plush toys that like kids press, and it's I always wonder if that dog's okay. It don't sound right. Don't sound right. So back to what I was saying. This retreat was to connect us with our cosmic family, to our creativity, to ourself, as well as a couple of ceremonies involved in teaching us the metaphysical magic. So how do we use the elementals and the energy of the elementals for ourselves, as well as some other things. So I went to this retreat. And again, many retreats like this are predominantly filled with like white, cis, hetero people. Women, white, cis, hetero women, typically. And I was the only black person, queer person, trans person, which is typical. And I'm not like, at this point, I know that there are certain spaces I walk into, I will be one of the only, if few. And this particular group was having a hard time using my pronouns. And I was at a point in my life where I had accepted, like, okay, I'm trans. And wasn't secure. I wasn't at a place where I was extremely secure in that acceptance of self, but I knew it was something I had to put myself out there and be like, you know what, my pronouns are they, them. I'm not a woman. I am in a female body, but I am not a woman. And that's the thing with transitions, right? We get to a point where we're transforming into a new identity, a new version of self, and it's not quite comfortable yet, but we know, like, hey, we have to embody that. So that's what I was doing, and I was embodying it. And they kept on ignoring the pronouns, and some of them were apologetic about it. And I was like, look, just don't apologize, just correct yourself and move on. I don't have to hear 1,001 apologies. Just, you know, if you say she, use they, and keep it moving, right? Just correct yourself. That's all. And so I was already feeling a bit separate from this group, because I was also the only one wearing a mask from the group as well, and there were no tests, so I was definitely like the odd person out. And I remember at the end of it, I just got really frustrated with them. Like, some people just didn't even care to try to use my pronouns. Like, they just didn't care. And I was mentioning, like, hey, you know, when that happens, like, that hurts me, because it makes me feel like you're not acknowledging who I am, and you're not seeing and respecting that. And in response, I mean, this is a very spiritual group, it was like the light doesn't skip anyone. We are all children of the light. And it was a way for that person to literally bypass that, like, I am in this body with this identity, and yes, I am a spiritual being, and I'm human. And it was their way of saying, like, none of that matters. We're all children of light. That's all we need to focus on. Just being of the light. 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 And I was like, look it, I'm not about to do that with you. We're not spiritually bypassing here, because then when you spiritual bypass in that way, you ignore your responsibility as a human being to see and honor not only yourself, but others, right? And so I was like done with it. I was fed up with it. I was fed up. I sent an article. I was like, look, I'm not about to waste my precious words, but here's an article about why you just did. Why that's spiritual bypassing, and how you can do better. Let me just remove myself from this group and call it a day. And so that's just an example, right, of people who say that they're love and light, but then don't want to face the earthly realities. We are all born in different bodies, and those different bodies and the different social stratas and structures we live in society relates to the different privileges based on the systems and structures of the society, and you can't just ignore that away, you know? And it is harmful if you're a cis person and a trans person is telling you, I'm not this, I am, please, like, this is my identity, and you just blatantly ignore it because you just want to focus on the soul. We're all a soul. We are all a soul, yes. And the beautiful thing about that is our souls came to this earth to experience humanity, to experience our humanness in a particular way. Through the ego, y'all. Through the ego. Through our wonderful egos and personalities. And I'm going to talk about that, like the ego, in a different thing. Because our ego is what often is put into the dark, I feel like, in many of these spiritual circles. That's just the ego. We must we must ascend the ego. Well, not all of us came here for that purpose. Some of us, we came here to go and heal the trauma that we've experienced in our lives and have a healthy ego with a healthy understanding of who we are as divinity, and to be in balance of both our humanness and our divinity, the soul and the ego, the light and the dark. Right, y'all? So this is why it's important to acknowledge your dark. Acknowledge not just your shadow, because often in healing communities, people talk about the shadow. But the thing about your shadow is just a little part of your darkness. It's just a little part of it. The more you shine a light in the dark, the more you bring awareness to what is being hidden in your subconscious. The more you make what is subconscious conscious, to bring science into it. Science shows that only about, the numbers vary, but 80, 90, 95% of what we do is conscious, which means that we are being ruled. The majority of people on this earth are being ruled by the subconscious, which is in the dark. We are not aware of that. So the more that you are able to go into your dark, to shine a light into your subconscious, to remove what needs to be removed, to heal what needs to be healed, to accept what needs to be accepted, to do what you need to do within the subconscious, to bring it into your awareness, the more power you have in your life, to live the life according to your desires. If you ignore your subconscious, you're just going to be ruled by your subconscious. There is no awareness. You are just living your life by programs and scripts that have been created, running in the dark. And you can accept that for yourself. Or you can choose to look at the dark and say, you know what? I want to see what's there. I want to see what's in the dark. Because I know that what's there is actually impacting how I live my life out there. It's impacting my thoughts. It's impacting my emotions. It's impacting the way I feel. It's impacting the actions that I take. It's impacting what I think I'm worthy of. It's impacting the life I am living. And I want to see what's there so that I can ensure that what's there is aligned with where I'm trying to go. And that is the power of the dark, y'all. And oftentimes we can go into the subconscious, we can go into the dark of our soul, the unknown, and plant things there to grow so that they can show up in our thoughts, in our energy, in our actions. That's magic. No one's going to tell you, but I will. That's magic. That is a process of using energy and understanding of the divine nature of who we are and the understanding of how this universe works to impact the dark. So in the dark, the seeds can grow in the direction that you want to go. Is there anything else? About the importance of the dark. All right, so I just asked, and the last thing I want to talk about is love. And not love in the way that we think about love, but love in the sense of our dark. If you do not accept your dark, if you do not love your dark, then you effectively don't love yourself, right? When I talk about, remember what I mentioned, like your light and your dark are all, it's actually, it looks like it's duality, but there's actually oneness in duality. They're one. Your light side, your dark side, they're one. Just like the morning and the night are both the day. And when you actively or unconsciously push away your dark and you don't accept your darkness, you don't and cannot fully accept and love yourself. We talk about this idea of self-unconditional love. How much do you love your dark? I want to ask all of y'all that. How much do you love your darkness? Do you love it as much as you love your light? And that is the work of coming into harmony with self. Is that acceptance. It's a radical acceptance of the dark. Not acceptance of, when I say acceptance, I'm not saying like a moral judgment of this is good or this is bad, this is right or this is wrong. It's an acceptance of this is there and it is what it is. And I have the power to change it if I so will it. It's an acceptance of I got the image of a hammer and a nail. When you see a nail and you see a hammer, you use the hammer to hit the nail because that's what it's made for. That's what it is. So it's an acceptance of this dark is here. It is what it is. And I can choose to work with it, to fight it, to revise it, or I can choose to ignore that it's not there, which is not acceptance, which is not love. So that's what I have. I'm going to stop there. So that's what we're going to be doing here, y'all. We're going to really be talking about that. And I'm looking at these oracle cards. And the first card, and I haven't looked at these cards, is work through your fears in reverse. When you don't allow yourself to see what's in the dark, you're not going to be able to work through your fears. Our fears hide in the dark, the place where we cannot see. They live in different parts of our bodies and our being. New moon in Scorpio. The new moon is all about new beginnings. It's about setting intentions and planting seeds. Scorpio is a sign of transformation. When we don't allow ourselves to acquaint ourselves with the dark, we can prevent that new beginning we so wish. We can prevent the seeds that we want to plant from growing because they don't have anywhere to gestate. The transformation in which we seek lies in the dark, and that is blocked when we don't allow ourselves to be in the dark. So just like the new moon is a time and period in the sky where it's the darkest. Like you can't see the moon. It's the full moon in which you're able to see the moon fully. That new moon signifies the darkest time and period of the moon cycle. That is the dark, metaphorically, right? And so as without, so within. Many of you are being called right now for a transformation, a new beginning, a new life, a rebirth from what you knew, from fears. And that requires the dark. And you know what also is associated with the dark is death and endings and letting go and shedding. It is winter. That season of winter when things die. To be reborn in spring, in that new cycle where you can plant those newer seeds. So that was a message for you if I'll ever see it. We're going to be doing that here. And it's not easy, and I want to say that because I don't want to make it be like, well, just talk about the dark and everything's going to be okay. Yeah, that's not what I'm trying to say, y'all. It's effort. It does take effort to really heal and work through the dark, to face fears, to work through limiting beliefs, to heal traumas and break ancestral patterns, to not let the oppressions of the world keep you trapped in a box. It does take effort. And I know you can do it. Because if I can do it, you can do it too. You can do it too. And the amazing thing is, it is my sincere wish that with this channel that you can get information, knowledge, wisdom, insight to help you do it. That you can learn from my mistakes. Learn from the mistakes that I made. So you don't have to do them. So you don't have to go through them. So that your transition into alignment with your authentic self, in true essence, is one that is smoother. It might still be as challenging, but one that is smoother because you know the path and what lies ahead. You know the cycles. You got the deets. And when you have someone to guide you, it can make that journey just that much easier. So thanks for listening, y'all. as always, I am so grateful wherever you are for being here. Wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in life, wherever you are in the cycle of death, of rebirth, of harmonizing the light and dark, wherever you are, just know that you are right to where you are meant to be. You are listening to this. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your healing, for your transformation, for your ultimate liberation. And I send you off with the highest light and love, knowing that I love you all. Peace. Truth, y'all. That's what we're doing here. We gotta talk the truth. Say the truth. Say the truth.